I'm Mark Seifter.
And I'm Linda Zayas Palmer.
And this is Arcane Mark. Welcome to our episode of Build an NPC Workshop 2, Curse of the Build an NPC Workshop. Today, we're going to be building an NPC entirely based on the decisions that are made by Twitch chat. If this is your first time watching one of our workshops, you should know that the Arcane Mark community produces things that are generally more coherent and usable than most things that are produced entirely voted for by Twitch chats. If it's not, then you already know that by now. But our last NPC was a Leshy Bard Seaweed Leshy who went underwater to hunt for Sharkshasas.
In addition to being more coherent and useful, the creatures and items that we created in this chat are usually more complex than things that you would actually need to make whenever you're making your own stuff. So if you're looking at this and thinking, wow, that's a lot of abilities and lore and cool decisions, do I have to do that every time I make an NPC? No.
Sometimes I have to be the ability Grinch and be like, alright, these are awesome, but we have too many. We can't put it anymore.
Your NPCs do not have to be this awesome.
Alright. So, as always, when you're building something, the most important thing to start with is a concept. And that's still true with NPCs. So, let's start out with our concepts. We already have one from before the episode officially started from Stephen Glicker, who says his idea is himself and he will pay more XP.
Alright.
If that one wins.
So idea number one.
Is Stephen
Build
Glicker.
Stephen Glicker as an NPC.
The GM from Roll for Combat.
We have a
Ular Warlord says a scholarly champion. That's a cool one too.
Well, we'll do the vote in just a minute, Stephen. We're gathering ideas first.
Yep. We are mostly a democracy here. Although, sometimes what would the word be for rulership by random chance? Because we use dice to break ties. Let me see. Is there a word for that? Rulership by random choice.
Nivi Rombo Dazlocracy?
No, but, like, is there an official word for it? Word for... Google, can you help me?
Google doesn't have an answer to literally anything.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I think I found it.
We're getting more ideas here, though.
It's called a demarchy. Oh, no, that's only where the decision makers are randomly selected.
No, okay. We have a Darkness Obsessed Cleric from Rexaliquid. Rexaliquid, thank you so much for the sub.
That's right. Thank you very much.
We have a anti-paladin who does in-depth analyses of other religions in order to spread heresy about them.
That's cool too.
Let's
add that in.
We have a cactus leshy.
Okay. Well, that would be cool. We already have a squishable cactus leshy. An elf reincarnated as a dwarf who is really confused about their identity.
Reincarnated as a dwarf who is really confused about their identity.
Kobold bounty hunter.
Kobold bounty hunter, that's cool.
A charlatan who infiltrates cults.
Who infiltrates cults.
And you're up to date.
Aha, I'm up to date.
You did it. All right. So how many do we have
8
here?
ideas.
That's pretty good.
Shall we go ahead and pop these in the chat?
Steven says he can be any of these things. Alright. Add it Kitsune Warlock from Tari Helion, and then that will be our 9th one.
And 9 is a Kitsune Warlock.
Presumably in honor of Dustin Knight.
Presumably, yes.
Alright. So, these are the 9 options that people brainstorm. Time to vote for which one you pick. We have only 9, so let's vote for one and see how that goes. Sometimes when we have in double digits, we have people pick their top 2 and then do a second vote, but I think we can do it in one vote. We'll see. All right. So Linda, our votes are 6, 9, 7, 4, and Steven already voted for 1 for himself.
All right. So we have 1, 6, 9.
7, 4.
7 and 4.
9, but 7 is a close second. But that's
9.
8.
8.
6, 8.
6. 8.
9.
9.
2.
2.
9.
9.
And we have Stevens for 1. What we already knew from before. All right. And then 9, 7.
9, 7.
Okay. I think 9's got this.
I-
Oh, wait, no, here's
7?
another 7. And there was one that was 9 that was also 7 being a close second. Oh, wait, another 7. Oh, my. 7 is really pulling back. It's 5 to 4. Zathos knows a lot of people really want to vote for 8 more than one time each. They may be cultists.
7 or 9.
Yeah, it looks like by that smidge of a hair that Numbat voted for 9 over 7 that 9 is gonna pull this off. And Steven summoned people from his Discord to vote for him. And I think that 9 has got this. Is there a way we can combine that? I think we can't really. Kobold Bounty. We've before been able to say we'll just do both of them in one character, but a Kobold Bounty Hunter and a Kitsune Warlock are too different to each other. So I think
Risky says 7 is a close second. Could make a second. We can do a second round on this if we want to do 7 and 9 as the only 2 options.
potentially, if we work fast, we'll do them sequentially. There we go.
All right.
So, so Jess says maybe the Kitsune's alternate form is a kobold. And, in fact, they are a Warlock Bounty Hunter.
All right, Kitsune Warlock Bounty Hunter with an alternate kobold form.
All right, we're doing that. This is it. We're listening. We're taking Jess's idea.
Thanks, Jess. Kitsune.
That it's going to be a Kitsune Warlock whose alternate non-fox form is a kobold, and who uses Warlock powers to bounty hunt. That's gonna happen.
Kobold alternate form.
Thanks for cheering, Dembat.
Yay!
Alright. So, this is our concept. This has really already told us a lot about the character. We're gonna follow along as our Kitsune Warlock says, can it use kobold tail blades in its kobold form? Well, it's PF2, so it doesn't... That rule doesn't exist. You can decide when you make your own version of it. And it's an NPC, so we
created
the concept.
Have some flexibility.
Now let's see, what level is this Kitsune Warlock Bounty Hunter who disguises as a kobold, possibly to get people's guard down, as their sort of non-foxy form.
So if they're a bounty hunter...
Bye, Dustin.
If they're a bounty hunter, they're probably not going to be like 1st or 2nd level. They're going to need to be powerful enough to actually...
Let's see, what level is the bounty hunter from the GMG, which I also have, but it's oh wait, no, so the bounty hunter background. Is there some kind of bounty hunter NPC?
I don't know, Mark. The GMG might possibly be in your lap right now.
Yeah, well, I was trying to search for a bounty hunter. Alright, here we go. Yes, bounty hunter is level 4, so it should probably be at least the level of the basic bounty hunter NPC, which is also a good place to start for bounty hunter ideas.
We have clearly 9, and yeah, level 9 for that strange kobold form fox shape.
Because 9 could have 9 tails. Oh,
talking about the level 9, the level...
Or what level the fox should be.
Yeah.
So if it's 9 because 9-tailed fox, then it could be level 9. I'm saying it should probably be at least level 4, which is just the regular bounty hunter. I mean, it's still a pretty solid bounty hunter by standards of a fantasy world. All right. 9th kit of a 9th kit.
All right, we're level 9.
So we're level 9. Alright, we're doing this. We're level 9. Great. So, let's talk a little bit. We already know that this particular Kitsune's form, kobold form is small. And their fox form is medium. So, we should probably put the fox form, which is the default form for the size, and then in the change shape, say that changes into a specific small kobold form. We also know that we've got some traits. So we've got going to have the humanoid and kitsune trait, because we are actually a kitsune. We're not actually a kobold.
Humanoid and kitsune.
That's right. And what alignment is this Kitsune bounty hunter disguised as a kobold, who's also a warlock?
Rexaliquid says, this is silly. Welcome to our channel.
Alright, Ular and Jess both say true neutral. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, true neutral seems legit.
Neutral completely. Alright, so, we've got this neutral bounty hunter. They're going to take the bounty. They're going to follow the bounty, but they also, they more just care about the bounty than following a particular set of consistent standards or just doing things all by the fly. They can do a little bit of both. They're not goody two-shoes. They're not evil. They'll take the bounty that's on the board. And maybe if it's for a little baby Yoda, they won't turn them in. Alright, so we're neutral, medium, humanoid, kitsune. Alright. So, traps, says Ular Warlord. So, let's take a look at our ability modifiers. We're level 9, and we know that we are a bounty hunter who bounty hunts by virtue of being a warlock. Now, there's sort of a few ways to go about this. In the Pathfinder setting, the only thing that is called warlock is the warlock vigilante. Is literally called warlock, but we could also imagine that our concept of warlock doesn't mean it has to use the rule warlock. Just like in that Order of the Stick comic where Miko's like, yes, I'm a samurai. That doesn't mean I have the samurai class. That's my status.
No, Trippy, you're right. Mark Shirt is, it's just a flesh wound from
It's just a flesh wound. Yes, that's right. So, just because our concept is warlock doesn't mean that we actually have to be like the vigilante warlock. We could be, for example, a kind of a witch who made a pact with something warlocky. Like Arcane says, probably a cult in some way. So
they have a concept expansion here. They have a whole skulk of kitsune to take care of. Mama Kitsune's got a bounty hunt to feed all those mouths.
Rexalic was saying a blasty kind of witch style could work. Also, if they're a witch, that means they could have a familiar that's also a fox with a lot of tails. Like, people have seen the playtest, the sketch art that Wayne did of Fea in the playtest. It's in the APG playtest file. It's cool.
I haven't seen that one yet.
You haven't? But Linda, you used that APG playtest file to make an investigator. Maybe you only looked at the investigator part. Alright. Arcane says it was cool.
I only looked at the investigator part.
Alright. The familiar could be a small lizard, Elftro says, because they're disguised as a kobold. Also. So, do people like the idea that we're sort of going a little bit in the direction of being witchy, but with blasting?
Yeah, and I see there's things here about traps as well.
Yes.
For bounty hunting.
And we'll want possibly some bounty... And we're not going to be exactly a witch necessarily, because we can take...
So we have a small lizard familiar, and we have some kind of trap thing. Let's see.
We can take the bounty hunter ability from the bounty hunter NPC, like, directly, which is slightly rangery. And we can give them that, too.
Taking a piece of their soul.
Oh, it's like literally hunt prey. So we can give hunt prey if we want. And so, yeah, Arcane says occult witch with the ranger multi-class dedication. Alright, so what we've got here is some kind of occult witchy style. It's an NPC, so it doesn't have to literally do everything a witch does if we don't want it to. And we could focus on something a little bit different because it's just our NPC bounty hunter. But if we're going to be doing that, we're focused on occultism and occult magic in a witch style. Intelligence is going to be our key ability score, and that's pretty important. So if we look at the ability modifiers in the file here, those are good for a monster, But for an NPC, it says we might want to do something a little bit different than that.
Mm-hmm.
So under the NPC section, let's give while a level 9 monster might have a +6 in their intelligence, maybe this NPC only has a +5 in their intelligence.
As it's a slippery slope there, Ulad. Look, it's not a harmful amount of soul taken. It can reform on its own.
There you go. So if we have +5 in intelligence, then this bounty hunter probably also needs some amount of dexterity and constitution for being on the road all the time. A little bit of wisdom for survival to track. Maybe doesn't necessarily need charisma, even though it's a usually good skill for Kitsune. And strength may not be as important either. So let's give just so we've gotten +5 on int. Let's give +1 on charisma because it is a Kitsune. And let's give +0 on strength because you don't want to not be able to carry your own kit. And I don't mean child, but I mean here when we're talking about.
Well, no, but also child because we've already established.
Might have to give a piggyback ride.
Yep.
But we should also have let's see, secondary ability scores level 9 are usually 4, so maybe 4 dex and con.
Sounds good. And then we need a wisdom score.
3. Let's use that tertiary for monsters at that level.
Sounds good. Okay.
All right.
So we've got ability scores.
All right.
Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of development here.
Oh, thanks for gifting a sub, Trippy.
Thanks, Trippy. There's a lot of development here around this idea of some kind of soul magic ensnared with the traps used to trap or identify people or things like that. So let's take a look back at that once we get to the special abilities.
That sounds awesome. So we have to decide also, are we going to go whole hog and give full witch spellcasting? Because in terms of the complexity of the character, that's going to eat up a fairly significant amount. Because just like with the bard, it's going to wind up giving us a big number of spells that we can cast.
But we need room for the soul trap thing. So
that's right.
We should probably not give
traps and soul traps. So away we know from the bounty hunter we probably want to give hunt prey. And we want to do something involving these soul traps. Possibly the idea that like the traps are able to be remotely triggered due to the slight amount of quintessence that are stored in them. So like the soul gives it somewhat of a mind of its own, and it can intelligently trigger. It's like not when the fighter tests it out with a 10-foot pole. No, the pit doesn't go. Yeah. But then the party walks on it, and then it goes. Or something like that.
So the traps will just go off, but only if it's like you can't trigger this except for a creature will trigger it.
Or it would be just like the traps have a mind of their own and trigger, and they can choose whether or not to trigger when the reaction's trigger happens based on whether or not it would actually catch someone. Something like that, if you see what I mean. Because normally a trap has to trigger when its trigger happens.
Could you have a trigger?
Trippy. The first part of the concept is a Kitsune warlock who's disguised as a kobold and works as a bounty hunter to feed the mouths of her Kitsune children. She's a true neutral.
Well, yes, this is again a combination of multiple concepts.
Yep.
Alright, so yeah, that'd be cool. So that's a trap that has a bit of soul energy, and so it uses that to decide whether or not it triggers. There's also something about, like, using the soul to identify. Yeah, like, can you set it to...
Liquid says it could be set so that it can tell who the hunted prey is, and it will only trigger on them.
Yeah. I like the idea of it only triggering on the hunted prey. So you have to get, like, something to uniquely identify that person.
It just says that if the bounty hunter infused a little bit of their own soul into the trap, that would explain why they're able to target their hunted prey, because they're going after the prey rather than trapping someone in there like a sympathetic object. That makes more sense, guys. I think that's a good idea.
Because from the warlock's own soul. Yeah, so then it's based on the the warlock, and that would also mean that if the warlock changes their hunted prey, because it's still their bit of soul is still connected to them, then it changes to be their hunted prey for that day.
So they should have the ability we can put in to make snares, just because that's easier, or like snares or other traps at your discretion. But snares are just a quick thing you can pick up, and that they only if she wants, they only trigger on the hunted prey, because she'll infuse a little piece of her soul in there. But, like, you know, some of her foxfire, her magical energy, but she can only probably have a certain number of those that are out. It's just only the ones that she creates using her special snares abilities from the ranger snare ability, or maybe a limit is 9 because everything is going to be 9.
So up to 9 infused at once.
Horcrux trap could be Horcrap, says Trippy. That doesn't sound perfect. Alright. So, Stump Monkey says, see, it always begins silly, but give it a little bit and suddenly it's an amazing build. Alright. So, we've got this idea, and since we don't know how the final witch is going to turn out in the APG anyway, we'll just give it a hex that also creates a trap. It's just like a bespoke hex. We'll call it, we could be like hex trap. And it probably could be similar to, isn't there like a domain spell that does some kind of trap glyph or something like that?
Probably.
Let's see.
I don't know.
Gods and Magic has redacting ghostly transcription. Let's see. Are there any that make a trap, though? Or some kind of a... Well, what we could do is just give it a hex that creates like a glyph of warding that puts down a spell onto something.
Of wording.
Yeah, I looked at the glyph domain, Ular, but it looks like that one is more about redacting things and...
1, 2, something. Okay.
And transcribing things. But we can do a glyph of a glyph of warning type ability.
Yeah.
As a hex, and then also.
And then, do we want like some
possibly
kind of
also
spell casting, like casting spells as a block level?
We can also give Evil Eye from the playtest, and then update it if it changes in whatever way it changes. We should probably give spells, so we can give 9-level witch spells, but we should also take a look at the DC and not use like the extreme caster DC for this character, because they've got some other aspects of them that are not just spellcasters. Which means we need to pick 2 5th-level spells and 3 of all the other levels that are not. Frodo says the Vigil domain could have some good stuff.
So I guess the question is, do we want to pick all of the spells here, or would we want to leave it a little more abstract?
Remember
because
the loss.
By the time this character was fully realized, you'd also have the APG to choose from.
That's a good point. Which might have new spells in it, which could be cool. But we could at least
pick a few.
Let's pick at least
5th level ones, maybe. And
yeah,
then,
I was gonna say let's pick the 5th and the 4th level ones, because those are the ones that are actually very likely to be cast during the battle, and then we'll leave the lower level ones open for later on. So if we look at the 5th level occult list right now, we can see which of these would be good for a solo bounty hunter style. We don't necessarily need some of these other ones that communicate with your allies. Synesthesia is a really nice debuff. It's better if you have a full team, but it might be useful if dealing with a really strong enemy, because it gives them the problem is the big thing about synesthesia is even on a success, they take a massive penalty for 1 round. And if you're alone bounty hunting, it's not as good that happens, because you can't exploit that massive penalty for the round. However, if they fail and lose it for a minute, you're in very good shape. And so synesthesia is a good possible choice for this bounty hunter. Let's see. It's uncommon, but Shadow Walk could be a good way to travel around from place to place faster when chasing around after somebody. Cloak of Colors can be fun because it basically, when people come up to you and tries to hit you with melee attacks, they might get blinded or stunned. If you're going out against a big, strong bounty, they might not be affected by it. Black Tentacles can hold things in place at a pretty solid choice. Let's see what people have been saying in chat. Rico says, what are the chances there are new spells in the APG, honestly? I hear the designers don't even like spells. Rico, I've heard that designers hate all spellcasters recently. And before that, I heard that designers hate all martial characters too. Which, when we put it all together, that would mean we only like the non-spellcasting, non-martials like alchemists. Except I've also heard that the designers hate all alchemists. So, in fact, we hate everything.
You've heard it here, folks. By suggestion, Ill Omen from Gods and Magic.
Oh, Ill Omen Gods and Magic is a
What
good
level
one
is
for
that one
first. It's a first level one. Rico says, "Why are you so full of hate, Mark?" And Ular said, "Driven by spite."
The designers are just
sounds about right, says Roxanne. It's like what he says, we're just Sith.
So I'm gonna put Ill Omen in there. So what do we want for our 5th level spells?
So all the ones that I said, I think that so people are saying fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to new rules design.
Okay. So do we have any preferences for 5th level spells here?
Another one we could potentially take is Shadow Blast for the, take the weakness of something that I'm attacking. Just a sort of very versatile blast. In addition to all the ones I said before. Prying Eye could be send it ahead to scout for your bounty so that you know and set up the terrain in your favor with a trap. Really any of the ones that I said there. Also, if you're chasing after one particular bounty...
Illusory Scene is another suggestion.
Illusory Scene is a good one. Hallucination is actually a situation where they detect one thing or another, can detect something that's there, can't detect something that's there or detect something that's not there, which could be very, very helpful in going after a bounty. It's like, oh, you can't see traps. Even if you know, if you succeed, it knows what the hallucination is, but it still perceives what you chose until it disbelieves. Which means it still has to spend actions to get rid of the effect, or it still can't see your traps, even though it knows, oh, I'm hallucinating that traps can't be seen. Oh, that's not good.
I see Cloak of Colors, Dimensional Anchor, Subconscious Suggestion.
Oh, Dimensional Anchor is really good for 4th level. Subconscious Suggestion could be good.
What level is that one?
That's a 5th. That's one where...
We'll go ahead and put Dimensional Anchor on 4.
Yeah, just because people try to escape using dimensional magic
all the time.
Too often. What else do we have in 4? Because we were going to pick the 4s and the 5s.
Yeah.
So, Clairvoyance could be helpful to see through a magical sensor. Potentially.
I feel like they should be able to fly.
Oh, yeah, fly. Yeah. Get up into the air.
Because they may also have bounties that
can also help in a lot of situations
if
the bounty is flying, or if you just want to keep away. Phantasmal Killer, it might not be good if you need to take them alive. But it's actually pretty nice if it's okay that they might die, because they probably won't, but then they might. Also, spell immunity becomes more useful if you're going after a known bounty, like Randor the Flame, who always casts Fireball, than it does for a PC where you don't necessarily know what spell you're gonna be going up against.
Well, and then Prying Eye. Well, one thing we could do, if we drop Clairvoyance and then keep Prying Eye at the higher level, then that can be how they do the scouting, and we keep spell immunity. Because I've also seen Prying Eye being mentioned a few times up here in the chat.
That's a good point. So let's go. We get 2 at 5th, and honestly, the Familiar has more spells, and they can prepare different ones. We have 2 at 5th and 3 at 4th. So
yeah,
that all sounds good. And we can actually prepare a lot of support spells on this character, since it's an NPC. and have like the traps, or even just like some weird witchy named special ranged attack, like a right? It could be like a cult blast or something like that, like the one that the Warlock Vigilante has, where they just shoot out a bunch of.
But it'd be purple force lightning.
You could have purple. Like you could just give them a ranged strike that they just have. That is their main damage dealing if all of their spells are support, for example. Mystic Bolts becomes Foxfire, says Frodo. Yeah, that's exactly it. It could be Mystic. You could just give it Mystic Bolts as a ranged strike. And just be like, you've got a thing, it's called Mystic Bolts, it does this much damage. Ular says Summon Fate Forth has Dryad and Unicorn as common options. Unicorn is not necessarily thematic, but this is a pretty good summon. It's got some neat stuff.
So I'll put Mystic Bolt / Foxfire.
Yep, as the range strike. So let's go into some of the numbers, because we do. We've got some spells. We actually know what our abilities are pretty well now. So we got our ability modifiers. Let's take a look at our perception. What's our wisdom score?
+3.
Okay, and as a witch...
Oh, we also know we have a small lizard familiar.
Right. As a witch who's also sort of multi-classed in Ranger, Ranger multi-class sort of lets you go up to Master. Not yet for a PC, but these characters can be a little bit more messed with that. So we're hunting things down. We could probably be Master, even though most witches would not be Master. So if we think about it that way, that's sort of like 9 plus 6 is 15, 3. Plus 3 is 18, which would put us solidly in the moderate lane. If we want, we're at a level where we could just do what it says in the book and give the like a pseudo, you don't have an item bonus. We could get away with going up to around 20, which is still lower than the high of 21.
Yep, sounds good.
So what do you think, Linda?
Yeah.
20? Do you like 20? Do you like 18? What do you guys think? Just says, is it a lizard or a fox disguised as a lizard? You know what? The Warlock Vigilante had a talent that let your familiar also have a vigilante form. So let's say that it's a fox that disguised as a lizard.
Familiar with a lizard alternate form.
There you go. Might be a pipe fox.
Small pipe fox familiar. Alright.
All foxes.
Pipe fox familiar with a lizard alternate form. There we go.
What came first, the lizard or the fox? Alright, so 20
The
then.
bounty hunter will never tell.
Let's think about skills. So right away we know that occultism is how we make our cult pacts.
Yes.
So also maybe this bounty hunter had to infiltrate a cult once in order to do the mission. Therefore it's also the cult infiltrator.
Yes.
Our occultism is sort of our...
crafting, hands down, we have here.
Oh, we need crafting.
Definitely,
and we need occultism, and we need survival, and we need stealth from Ular had that,
Survival,
Bueller.
We need stealth.
Yep, we need all 4 of those. It'd probably be nice to have like a little bit of acrobatics and athletics, because we're wandering around the wilderness, and we may need those occasionally, but like they don't have to be as high as the 4 we just said.
So acrobatics, athletics, crafting, occultism, stealth, and survival. Do we have any social skills?
That's a good question. It feels like we don't necessarily even try to intimidate or talk people down necessarily, but deception, as Ular said, might be useful because we're tricking people all the time. Elftro says maybe diplomacy for gathering information in town.
So we could have like maybe we're better at deception, but we have a little bit of diplo.
Actually, let's make it society.
Oh yeah. Because that would both let us use some gather info type stuff, and also know about.
Oh, Raxalica was about to say. Oh, it did in fact say let's do society.
Know about our targets.
All right, so probably our society and occultism are really good because we have so much int.
Yes.
In fact, right away we can tell that whichever of those was our very, very favorite skill could probably be as high as 22 based on the pseudo whatever we're doing. 23 is the extreme though, and 20 is the actual high. Yeah. So we may want to not go that much higher than the actual high, because this character is not like a paragon of the best ever known.
We could make them both 20 though.
we could easily do that because
Yeah.
one of them could be a master skill and the other one could be an expert skill that sort of had the I don't have items item type situation. It's an NPC. So we could definitely make society and with the streetwise ability as Joe mentions.
Yeah, so
and occultism B20. In that case, we probably are going to wind up with some of those other skills being more in the 18 range. How good is our dex?
Our dex is only one lower, so that could be 18.
So if our dex is only one lower, just for I guess it could be a +1 weird itemy thing that makes it that makes it odd.
We can do 19 if you prefer. I don't really care.
It doesn't really matter. What's about our wisdom though? That's 2 lowers. So we can make the survival 18
and the stealth 19.
Yeah, and let's make acrobatics even lower.
Yeah.
Let's make that just what
17 minus 2
what's
from stealth?
2 plus dex plus level? That's
2 plus dex
15.
plus level. Yeah, okay, 15.
Let's just make acrobatics 15 and the strength actually 13, which is at the strength or the athletics is at the very low end of low.
And then we need crafting for our traps.
Crafting, you're right. Maybe crafting is plus 20 and actually society is only 18.
Yeah, that sounds good. So we don't have too many 20s. And then our deception, probably mid-range, because our charisma is only +1.
Trippy is wondering, what about thievery? Do we have thievery to deal with other people's traps? We probably have it.
Yeah,
let's put that in between acrobatics and stealth.
So that would make a thievery +17. Sure. And then all we need is our deception bonus.
Okay. Well, our charisma isn't super fantastic.
Yeah.
So maybe the deception bonus is 14, which is at the lower end of low. All right.
Sounds good.
There we have it.
That's a bounty hunter.
And hybrid NPC, Frodo says, doesn't have extreme highs, but is above average in a theme. Yep, we got that thievery now. Lots of skills. It's very skillful. In fact, the skill section recommends 1 to 3 high skills. We have 1 to 3 high skills. And then probably not like a massive number of other skills, but we're a very skillsy character.
We're a very skillsy character,
I think we did it. We didn't put in too many high skills.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, great. So when it comes to items, we don't need weapons or armor, really. We're probably going to attack with Mystic Bolts. So we don't have to worry, but we could... Oh, I guess we can give +1 Traveler's Clothes.
Yeah.
If we want. It is the maximum safe item. We do not have to. In fact, we can probably hit the AC we need without +1 Traveler's Clothes, but... Let's see what we can do. So
we've got
level
4
9.
decks.
Actually, we're also a multi-class ranger, so we could potentially have a light armor, too. It could be either a +1. So, actually, we're a multi-class ranger. We probably have leather armor.
Sure, we've got a +1 leather armor.
So, it could be +1. If it was, then that would generally give us 5 for the armor, +1 for the +1 is 6. +9 for the levels, 25. +2 for trained would be 27, which is 1 below high.
You got dex?
Or, I did. Yeah. Or +4 if it was expert would be 1 above high. So that tells me let's make it not magic and we can just have the high AC.
Sounds good.
We'll say they're an expert. That's good that's really good for a witch, but that's fine. Joe, the dex is 18. That's really good for a witch, but this is a rangery witch.
Yeah, it is a rangery
more
witch.
so than all the way witch. Now, saving throws, high is 21, moderate is 18, and low is 15. So,
our dex and con are in the same area, and our whiz
is a lower, but is probably our best save.
Because of our witchiness.
So we probably are like master in the will save, so that's 15.
Thanks for the sub, Sheppy.
Oh, thanks for subscribing. And also, thanks for the awesome Chemighost art. If people haven't seen it, it's on not only on the Discord, but I retweeted it on Twitter.
It's cool.
It is awesome. So maybe we're all around the moderate line, because if we were a master in will saves, we would have 18.
Yeah.
In will saves. And if we were an expert in the other 2 saves, we'd have 17, which is slightly below moderate. So it's actually, that makes it a little bit below average in saves, but with no actual real weaknesses.
Yeah.
It's only below average because it has no strength.
Exactly.
But
well, I mean, that's the same thing that was going on with a lot of the skills,
that makes
too.
sense for a bounty hunter, because if you
wanna
have a
be well-rounded.
glaring weakness, then your bounties can exploit it.
Yes.
But no great strength either.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So, what's next? Hit points?
All right. So, hit points is next. Now, a full-on witch would be using the low hit points.
Mm-hmm. We should probably be a little higher than that.
We could be in between because we're multi-class.
We're multi-class and we do have +4 con.
Oh, we do have a lot of con. And I mean, having a lot of con is helpful because even to get to the low hit points, like, realistically, a witch would need to have 4 con. Because then they would have 90, plus toughness, probably even, to get to the low hit points.
Mm-hmm.
But our rangeliness can probably help us out. There's a feat that, multi-class feat, that gives you more hit points that is in the Ranger's Bailiwick or whatever. So let's go in between those two.
Sounds good.
So
what's a nice round number?
120 is the highest low, 151 is the highest moderate.
140?
So what about 135?
135? There we go. 135 it is.
All right. Very cool.
We probably
We
don't
do not have
resistance
resistances and weaknesses.
because we're a Kitsune.
All right, so our strike attack bonus. All right, we've
Speed,
got...
I guess, is probably 25. We don't actually know what a Kitsune speed is
It's
yet.
probably
so we can
20.
Just say
Let's
25.
just do 25 for this one. So, our strike attack bonus. Well, if we've got +4 dex, +9 from level, is 13. So, if we say that that this character is got if they're an expert, that would be +17, which is around the low attack bonus. What we could do is have the melee weapon be that, but say that they're a master in Mystic Bolts, for
and
example.
then maybe the melee weapon is like claws or something.
Oh, also, no, the reason the attack bonus is so low is because they would normally have like a +1 striking weapon at this point.
Yeah.
So, actually, what we could do is, we could give, what would a kobold have as the melee weapon, though?
That's what I was saying, claws.
Oh, yeah, claws. That makes sense.
Because kobolds or kitsune could both have claws, right?
Right.
So the claws is just like a really backup thing that they have as a melee weapon. Really, they're going to want to attack
makes
with
sense.
the ranged weapons or spells.
And we can say that the ranged attack is at +20 because their Mystic Bolts ability, we can make it be like a +1 striking weapon.
Yeah.
Right? Rex Liquid says they might have a bite.
Oh, yeah, bite. Yeah, we'll do a bite.
All right.
Bite makes more sense.
All right.
It's a bite now. So,
Okay. So let's give +17 on the bite.
how damaging are these two attacks?
So let's say that we didn't buy our hand wraps of
So our bite's gonna
we didn't
be-
buy wraps of striking or whatever, the mighty fist thing.
Yeah.
So our bite's gonna be pretty garbage.
So what is it, just like 1d6 or something?
Let's call it agile finesse and doing 1d4 plus we'll give weapon specialization, and we already said we're an expert, so that's +2.
1d4 plus 2.
The amount
Oh,
of
boy.
damage that is so far below the low damage that this is basically like, please don't use this. For the ranged attack, which is at +20, because we're saying we're a master at that,
Yes.
and it's a sort of a +1 striking, we're going to do some Mystic Bolt damage. So that's going to do 2d, whatever dice we want Mystic Bolts to be, plus 3, because weapon specialization will be higher for that.
Yeah.
Plus, it probably doesn't add any kind of ability score to it. So, right away, looking at what we've got at level 9,
The chart suggests...
if we're doing a ranged attack, it should probably be in the moderate, possibly low situation. Our accuracy isn't super high. We are flat out also a spellcaster.
So the moderate...
But the if we did D12s for the Mystic Bolt, then it would still be in the low category. So what we could do, though, put up the bounty hunter theme again and the not weak at anything but not necessarily super strong. Let's do 2d12 plus 3, but say that it's to follow Mystic Bolts from PF1, that it's from any of several different energy types. Let's find out what Mystic Bolts... What were the options for Mystic Bolts in PF1? Alright, let's see. So, the damage list above, thanks Mystic Bolts, acid, cold, electricity, or fire are the ones that are there. Let's add in Sonic 2.
Sounds good.
And you know what? Force.
Oh, yeah.
Do whatever of those you want. Hit their weakness and just use force otherwise. And the damage is pretty low, but you're pretty much going to do a good job for the damage.
And they rely in a lot of cases on having their ridiculous traps and
Frodo's wondering where the Chemighost is. So it's on discord.gg/here. Find it on the Discord. And the picture is there too. Alright. So, I think that works. It's not like the world's greatest strike. But it's pretty good considering we also have all that witch casting to fall back on and traps.
Yeah.
Speaking of witch casting, our spell DCs. We're kind of a magical striker here. We're not going to actually use the extreme spell DCs here.
Yeah.
We're probably pretty solidly in the high, but let's look. That's level 9, 19, plus 5 from the int, 24, plus 4 from expert. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're at 28. We're at the high DC. And
we don't need any innate spells.
Yep.
We've got our own spells from our stuff, and we don't necessarily need to know any rituals, so it looks like we are, and we design new abilities.
And we've done
already,
that. So we got this.
9.
Oh, Sheppy, this nine-tailed kitsune is level 9. It's a kitsune bounty hunter warlock who disguises as a kobold and uses traps that are sort of tied into the soul energy of the kitsune, using a little bit of their own salt quintessence in Foxfire to make the traps so that only their hunted prey can trigger them if she wants. So it's like, 10-foot pole? Yeah, no, it's not going to trigger, but when you step on it, it will. Ular says quintessence is such a cool term. I can't take credit for quintessence. That's sort of the outer planar essence that is sort of predates spiritual essence being named as one of the 4 essences, and is in planar adventures and all sorts of other places. So it's sort of another name for the spiritual essence of a human or kitsune being that's gone into the multiverse and can become part of a plane. It's the 5th element. Oh, but does that mean it's connected to Aether?
So does this NPC have a name?
Rico says that Rico is confident if they had all the time in the world could get to that level of expertise. But it might take a few centuries. Oh, is that about Sheppy's art style?
Sheppy's art skills.
Okay, that makes sense.
Scaletail? Is it a suggested name here? So that would probably be the name of the that's a good name for the alter ego, the kobold alter ego. So we know, so they're known as Scaletail and their kobold alter ego. What are they known as in their kitsune form? Windswept dust?
Potentially. Yeah, that is pretty cool. I like windswept dust. Let's see if windswept dust. That's cool. Which means that we could do since it's a kitsune, some kind of a dust storm in Japanese, which looks like Sajin Arashi or something like that, is dust storm or sandstorm or dustostorm. But we don't want to do that.
Don't do that.
Or Kokufu, sky darkening dust storm.
Hold on. It's like always. Wait. No, hold on. Look at the chat. You can't see it very well from here.
Okay.
Go back. There's cool stuff going on.
All right, I see.
Windswept dust, like dusted, dust in the wind. Can we name the lizard to Scaleless? Aww.
Scaleless.
That's a name for the familiar.
Raxalic was working from Dusted for windswept dust.
Scaleless. Aww. And then maybe the alternative lizard form is a scaleless lizard.
Oh, to rain dust is the verb, let's see. It looks like suchifuru. It's a ru verb.
I don't know. I feel like the blatant play on Dustin's name works better if we keep it in English.
Fair enough. But it's a less obviously an Easter egg if it's
no hiding your Easter eggs. It makes it harder for your developer to find them.
But it's not being developed. No one would know if we just said Suchifu that it was actually Dustin. Alright. Familiar. Scaleless. Chevy likes scaleless is the name for the familiar. Jess says featherlight, like the scales weighing against a feather.
So we could do...
Oh, like in Egyptian mythology with Mot's feather.
So we could do... Maybe featherlight is what the familiar goes by when they're in pipe fox form, and when we turn into a lizard, they're scaleless. So then they each have their own names for both forms.
Yeah, I could see that.
And it's all cute.
Alright. So I think we've got this, everybody.
Yeah.
We have determined. Oh yeah, obviously I was looking at a vision thing. We have low light vision because we're Kitsune, presumably. Who knows? They will eventually have that or not. Mm-hmm. The vision sometimes. Some of the things have fewer visions that have been published so far in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, which makes it a little bit less like in 1st Edition, where it's like. We should just
human vision?
we should just call low light vision and call human vision the bad vision that humans and halflings have and nobody else.
Human and halfling vision. Your eyes work worse than literally everyone else.
Or bad light vision and just give that to humans and halflings. All right.
It comes out at night.
Katrina says if only we could all witness Dustin learning the full build. Well, maybe he'll leave a reaction on a clip, and we'll all be able to see. All right, so we got this. Well done, everyone. I wasn't initially sure. I had skepticism when I was like, I don't know if we can make this be a kobold bounty hunter who's also a kitsune warlock. But thanks to Jess with the idea of the kobold being the alternate form, we got this. We did this.
We got it. Yay! All right, that was a fun character. And depending on how much time I spend cleaning it up, that's why the workshop stuff takes longer to come up, because I just type up my notes and then I say, yes, I need to clean this up.
Actually, like said, the mashup was fun despite his skepticism. So
I'll have this up I should have this up on Discord pretty soon.
Okay.
Along with the other ones. I've got that on my list of things for this week. We have a landslide winner in the vote.
Well, let's say bye to YouTube and then go to the vote. Bye YouTube! See you next time!